guys, welcome to our channel. Today we're going to teach you about our new historicism lens, which is defined as the ability to understand intellectual history through its historical context. New historicism is an umbrella term. We're going to have to cut that out. It's an umbrella term that encompasses the cultural implications of a person's racial background, financial state, and their ability to succeed in society in relation to their gender identity. New historicism is often applied when analyzing the ways in which perceptions of certain aspects of popular culture have changed over time, usually as a result of increased levels of education in society.
Fetishism is defined as the sexual fascination with things that are not inherently sexual. This includes race. For example, Pocahontas, a well-known and loved Disney movie released in 1995, romanticizes the relationship between the white male and Native American woman. This glosses over the authentic actions that took place in history. The main question is why? Why would Disney mask the truth of what really happened? Disney portrays Pocahontas as more of a woman than history tells us. This allows those watching to conclude that it was a consensual relationship between her and John Smith. History has stated otherwise, telling us that Pocahontas was a young girl when she met John Smith at the age of 11. Meanwhile, he was in his late 20s. Disney shows Pocahontas as an older character to enhance her woman-like features, putting her, out of all the Disney princesses, in the most revealing clothing. This point alone shows that Disney puts an emphasis on the sexuality and sexual appeal of Native American women and their culture.
Okay. Haley explained the ways in which Disney both intentionally and unintentionally created a movie that misrepresented and fetishized Native American culture. Unfortunately, the normalization of sexuality in both young, female people of color is a prevalent theme in today's society, as the objectification of these little girls starts much younger than it does for white children. Native American women grow up believing in the notion that their worth lies almost entirely in their sexuality, as society perpetrates the idea that these women are not deserving of basic human decency because they are merely objects for men to play with. Consequently, Native American women are 2.5 times more likely to experience sexual violence than any other demographic in the United States, and the majority of these incidents that are perpetrated by non-tribal members. The legal limitations of reservations to prosecute non-tribal members for crimes against Native American women deeply hinder these communities from moving in a direction that empowers their female demographic to speak up and fight back against sexual violence. In addition to the legal limitations faced by Native American reservations, these communities are also forced to endure the harmful practice of sending sexually disgraced priests to teach on Native American reservations. This is another example of the way in which society perceives Native children to be inhuman, evidenced by the way they would endanger a child's well-being rather than sending a Catholic priest to jail for pedophilia. This instance displays the ways in which society values Native children primarily on a sexual basis, evidenced by their dismissal of these people's health and well-being. Throughout history, Native Americans, particularly women, have been dehumanized based on their heritage and devalued because of their gender. The normalization of fetishism in popular media must end, as it reinforces the notion that Native American women are less than human.
The 1995 film is controversial due to its portrayal of Native American culture, creating it to be much more appealing to the audience. Because of the romantic relationship between Pocahontas and John Smith being a prominent part of the plot, Disney felt the need to alter the history of Native Americans, excluding important cultural factors such as Hawaiian dialect, appropriate Native attire, and the violent history that occurred between the European descendants and the Native people. But including violence to convey historical accuracy hasn't been a problem in some of the other popular Disney movies. Disney's Mulan, released in 1998, incorporated graphic scenes of war, death, and acts of terrorism throughout most of the film. The Lion King, released in 1994, also displayed both physical and verbal violence, a traumatic death scene, and slavery. If it wasn't an issue including such intense topics into these movies, then why wasn't the same done for Pocahontas? Though the intentions behind the producers of the film is unknown, it led a few people to question whether the purpose was to brainwash younger generations about American colonization, or if it was to represent Native American people in their attempt to include more diversity into their industry.
Today there is an increased rate of domestic abuse and sexual violence against Native women, especially at the hands of non-Native partners. These rates are higher than any other groups in the country, and shows the disregard that the country feels toward Native women, a culture that thinks of Native women so little that we end up victimizing them, won't bat an eye at this sexualized depiction of a Native American woman.
So why was this version of events pushed forward? Creators had the assumption that the movie was not disrespectful at the time because of the colonial ideas America was founded on and the exclusion of Native people from dominant culture. The belief that white people were bringing civilization to non-white groups of people was a prominent ideology that dates back centuries and stayed relevant within the 20th century when the movie was made. Because Native Americans no longer make up a majority population within the country, Native voices that have discussed the horrors they face at the hands of white people have been drowned out, leaving this Eurocentric version of events behind. The whitewashing they did was a reflection of the whitewashing that has been ongoing. The makers of the movie might not have even been conscious of how disrespectful their portrayal of this event was because the realities of what Native Americans have faced and are continuing to face has been generally ignored. So in conclusion, as you can sort of see, Disney sucks. We're still going on the trip though.